The gas station looked like something forgotten by time paint peeling. Pumps rusted over, and the neon sign flickering as though it too was gasping its last breath. It sat at the edge of nowhere, wedged between cracked highways and dusty hills. Most people drove by without giving it a second glance. But for Daniel Hayes, it was all he had. A single father of one, Daniel had lost nearly everything after a horrific accident took his wife and left him jobless and broken. He was a mechanical engineer, once sharp, respected, but the trauma paralyzed him. His son Max, just 8 years old, needed a stable roof and something warm to eat. So, when Daniel inherited this junk gas station from his estranged uncle, he took it not because he wanted to, but because he had no choice. People in the town mocked him for it. Who buys a dying gas station in the middle of nowhere? Poor guy must have lost his mind after his wife died. They'd whisper at grocery stores, shake their heads when they saw him working late under the blistering sun. But Daniel didn't listen. Not because it didn't hurt, it did, but because his son was all that mattered. That, and something deep inside him told him this gas station had more to offer than it seemed. One summer afternoon, everything changed. Max had wandered around back where the old trailers and broken vending machines sat. "Dad," he shouted, "there's someone living back here." Daniel rushed out, expecting a raccoon or maybe a runaway dog. What he found stunned him. Behind a pile of scrap tires sat a young girl, no older than 13, clutching a tiny blanket and trying to hide. She was thin, sunburned, and scared. Her name was Lily. She'd run away from foster care. Daniel tried calling the authorities, but she begged him not to. "They'll just send me back. I won't survive there again." Against his better judgment, he let her stay the night. And then there were more. By the end of the week, 2 brothers, Malik and Jaden, showed up. They'd been kicked out of their group home for fighting back against bullies. Then came Maria, a quiet girl who hadn't spoken in months. Tim, who'd lived in his car since his mom overdosed. And Chloe, a fiercely protective 11-year-old who carried a Swiss Army knife for safety. 6 kids, all outcasts, all scared, all unwanted. And all gravitated to that broken gas station like moths to a dying flame. Daniel was mocked even harder now. He's harboring homeless kids now? Someone call CPS before something bad happens. But Daniel stood his ground. Every day, he worked at gas station fixing broken pumps, repainting the store, teaching the kids how to change oil, rotate tires, and fix busted generators. The kids weren't just surviving, they were learning, healing. Max shared his toys. The kids shared their stories. At night, they'd sit around a campfire built from old car parts, telling jokes, cooking canned beans, and pretending they weren't just a bunch of broken people trying to stay alive. But beneath the surface of the gas station, quite literally something extraordinary waited. It started with a map. Chloe had found it inside the wall of the dusty office while helping Daniel patch a hole. It was wrapped in a greasy rag, aged and handwritten in ink that had begun to fade. The title read, "Access Tunnels Project Hydra, Confidential -1981. Daniel's engineering instincts kicked in. He'd heard of Project Hydra. It was an abandoned Cold War initiative rumored to involve deep earth testing and underground fuel tech, but it was supposedly shut down decades ago. He brushed it off as urban legend, until he saw the sketch on the map, the gas station's layout, with a massive underground hatch marked beneath pump number 3. Pump number 3 had never worked. That night, Daniel and the kids dug under the station. What they found was not just a hatch, but a steel elevator, rusted but functional. With some rewiring, it roared to life. It descended 12 stories into the earth. Below was a secret lab, untouched for 40 years. High-tech for its time test chambers. Massive tanks labeled alternative fuel experiments. And filing cabinets filled with handwritten notes and formulas. The kids couldn't believe it. Malik and Jaden took videos. Lily read through the reports. Maria, surprisingly, was able to recognize some of the symbols. Her father had once worked in fuel engineering, and Daniel, he just stood in the middle of it all, shocked, overwhelmed, and suddenly aware he was standing on a gold mine. But instead of selling it off, he did something else. He studied the formulas day and night. He worked with the kids, turning the lab into a classroom. Together, they reactivated some of the dormant tech, figured out that the lab was working on a biofuel that could run on common plant waste, cleaner, cheaper, more powerful than traditional gasoline, a $400 million breakthrough. Abandoned and forgotten. Daniel reached out to a clean energy startup in Silicon Valley. At first they didn't take him seriously. But when he flew in with working blueprints, video footage, and a working prototype they'd recreated using scraps from the junkyard, everything changed. The startup offered him $400 million for the rights and technology. He refused. Instead, Daniel proposed a joint venture under one condition. The gas station would become a full-time training center for underprivileged youth, and all profits would fund programs for foster kids. They agreed. News broke out nationwide. Single dad discovers $400 million fuel tech below gas station with help of 6 outcast kids. Suddenly, the world that once mocked him came knocking. Reporters, investors, biographers, people he hadn't heard from in years, but Daniel never forgot where he came from or who stood by him when no one else did. Each of the 6 kids became co-founders in the foundation he started. They all went on to attend college, some in engineering, others in education, business, and one, Maria, would later return as the youngest environmental scientist at the company they helped build. As for Max, he still kept his favorite wrench on his shelf. Just in case the world forgets how this all started, he'd say. And the gas station? It still stood at the edge of nowhere. Only now it was a sanctuary, a place where broken kids came to be mended, where rust was just the beginning, not the end, and where a single dad with a broken past became a hero, not for what he found underground, but for what he saw in 6 forgotten kids.